We are back, P3, Pinch Pennies and Passports. We are here today to talk about how to hustle Airbnb. So why will we be coming to you about this? This is just another way to trim the fat on one of the most costly expenses that we all encounter, and that's housing. So even if you're traveling or even if you're at home, this tends to be one of the bigger ticket items when you're looking at your month-to-month expenses. So we have devised, after 4 or 5 countries, we've been able to kind of accumulate some tips and tricks to be able to get the most out of Airbnb. So we have used Airbnb for the majority of the countries on our journey. There have been a couple where for like India and Egypt and Morocco, we did some kind of organized trips that accounted for all of that. But for all the other countries, we've used Airbnb. So we've learned a few things, and we've compiled for today's episode to talk about the 7 things, tips and tricks, 7, on the ways that you can get the most out of Airbnb. And I'll kick it off. Number 1 is to consider using new hosts, meaning those hosts who have put up posts that are very new. And the reason why is because we've noticed that these guys are a lot more likely to give discounts. We've gotten up to 20% off of the rate by going with one of the new hosts. Now, some people might say, well, a new host, I think that's kind of risky, but we see it as an opportunity to save money because they consistently have lower prices, and they typically go above and beyond because they want to make a good first impression and try to drum up that business. And those discounts are not because they're not good. It's just that they're trying to incentivize people to utilize their post. And so we would highly recommend you consider that as one way that you can get the most out of Airbnb.
All right, our second one is to look for weekly or monthly discounts. So if you look at the side-by-side we have posted on the screen, this is for the exact same apartment. So you see the starting dates are the same, but the checkout dates are different. And what you'll notice is that on the left, it's less than a month, and the total cost is $907. But when you bump it up, you're actually bumping it up several more days, and it reduces your total cost by $150 plus. So we're highly recommending, go ahead and either extend your trip by a few days, or it may be even worth your time just to book it for longer and not even use it because you're saving so much money. And the same can be applied for the weekly. If you can look at the next picture on your screen, you can see, again, you've got the same check-in day, but you've extended it by 1 day. So you've got a longer trip by 1 day, and you're paying $2 less. So this again shows that you can take advantage of those weekly and monthly discounts and save money on Airbnb.
All right, so for number 3, the third hack for Airbnb is just to be mindful of additional charges. So Airbnb has a section that goes over additional charges. And what we have found that when we were looking for a private room accommodation, that if you aren't accurate with the number of guests, that can make the price go up. So take a look at the example on your screen. We have the exact same booking, the same dates, but if you see for one guest, it's $26 a night, but for 2 guests, it actually doubles to $52 a night. And that might not be something that you think has to be accurate, but those are some of the additional charges that you would need to account for and be very mindful of. That it can be that private room that you think is cheaper than getting an entire, renting an entire apartment or, a private space, you might think that it's cheaper, but it's really not. So be very, very careful about those additional charges.
All right, tip number 4 is to look at locations on the outskirts, but near public transportation. So an example we found was in the outskirts of Paris, there's a neighborhood or suburb, whatever you want to call it, called Vanves, V-A-N-V-E-S, for those trivia buffs. It's literally 5 minutes from the train line, 2 different train lines that ran into the city. So in this instance, we saved significant amount by being slightly further away, but in terms of accessibility to the city, we were closer to the trains that'll get us in the city faster than even some of the locations that are in the city but not close to the metro lines. So we would say check those places out because they offer better rates and just as good access.
And two, we're going to get those same train tickets and to use public transportation anyway. So even if you don't want to stay on the outskirts, you have to realize I'm going to be paying for public transportation anyway to be able to get around, to make the most out of that city. So you're actually getting more bang for your buck with your public transportation when you stay a little bit further out, but keeping in mind its location next to public trans.
Absolutely. Number 5 is thoroughly read the reviews. People leave wonderful reviews typically and can give you a really good insight into what you may be stepping into for good or bad. Mm-hmm. Most of it's good. I don't think we've had too many bad experiences, but it really has been useful information in determining whether we were going to move forward with a particular booking based on just the community's input into whether this would be something we'd be interested in or not.
Awesome. So for number 6, wait a minute, is that 6?
That's
yes,
6.
That's 6. Always message the host before you book. Okay, so why would you take the extra step? You've looked at the pictures, you've looked at the location, the price is right, you think it's absolutely perfect. So why not just go ahead and click the button and book? Well, what we have found is that when you take the time to message the host, you get a glimpse of the type of person that you're going to be dealing with. We have found that perfect Airbnb and message the host and then they never respond. So what does that tell us? That tells us that host is not going to be attentive. What is the accommodation going to look like? I mean, is it going to even look like what they said, or are they going to be somebody that we would want to be the person on the ground that we're dealing with? So we have found that messaging gives you a little bit of insight on the type of person that you're dealing with as far as a host. Also, it reduces the chance that the listing is a dud. So we have seen that there have been some Airbnb listings, we don't know why, have been fake. And so you think it's perfect, the pictures are perfect, and then you realize, wait a minute, this isn't even real. So when you get that response from a host, that gives you some pretty good peace of mind that is a real booking. And then you can have written documentation of the answers that they provide. So we have several questions, like standard questions that we ask our hosts so that we can get an idea of what type of accommodation. We ask about the amenities, we ask about the location, its location in relation to public transportation. So all of these things are something that we take into account. And number 7 is pay attention to the cancellation policy. We've gotten burned about booking places that have strict policies and then our plans change and then we either lose money or we have to go forward with it. Be sure that you try to go for the flexible. There are several different cancellation policies with Airbnb, but make sure that you try to find the one that is flexible.
We realize that there are plenty of other options out there, such as VRBO, and there's another one called HomeAway. We didn't use those, but we do understand from reading blogs and stuff like that there's similar tricks with those. So, pick your poison, whatever. We dealt with Airbnb the whole time. Things to keep in mind is Airbnb is not legal in all cities, or certain countries is completely illegal. So be careful, because you may be doing something that could inevitably cost you money. So just be careful. You don't want to get in trouble with anything like that. And just keep in mind that trimming the fat is always awesome. Yes. What better way? You're traveling and having fun. You're eating your cake. You get to have your cake and eat it too. I botched that one. But so if anybody's got any other tips, tricks, hacks, this, that, or the other, whatever you want to call it, let us know in the comments. We're curious. If you liked what you heard, don't forget to subscribe. And we're going to keep giving these videos and keeping a P3 in it. So
also, we forgot to say.
Yeah. What did we forget?
No affiliations with Airbnb.
None. Yes.
None. We get 0 for saying this.
0.
This is all based on our experience. Mm-hmm. So this is just strictly from what we've experienced. No money, no affiliation. That's why we also, plug the other companies.
Right.
So yeah, just wanted to make sure that we got that in. B3, baby.